I got the mic back. Things are looking up. Yeah, but not for Drake. Let's just cut to the chase here. Drake is not starting off 2025 on the strongest foot. First starting with the fallout, of course, from which then led to and also leading to damn, that was diabolical. And we are somehow now here with Drake's newest collab album, Some Sexy Songs for You, with PARTYNEXTDOOR. And it's quite interesting and raises some questions on Drake's future. Once more, I'm assuming you are coming into this video with a at least basic knowledge of what has happened with Drake within the last year, because I myself have summarized and talked about this in videos before, and I'm not going to do that again here. And this is kind of just like the last video I made. This is kind of like a skeleton script thing, which I made that term. Don't look it up. I made up that term. It's mine. Where instead of me reading off of a fully written script, I'm kind of just reading off of decent notes and letting my thoughts fill in the rest. I'm still working on that weekend video. It will most likely be the next upload, I promise. But I want to talk about this in between. It wouldn't be the LxgendaryWill channel if I didn't have something to say about what Drake is currently up to. Now with that out of the way, let's just get down to business. To give a bit of backstory, this kind of project has been requested for quite a while. If you aren't somehow aware, PARTYNEXTDOOR, real name Jerron Anthony Braithwaite, hope I said that right, Braithwaite, maybe, I'm not sure. He's an R&B singer-songwriter and producer hailing from Mississauga, Ontario. Currently signed to Drake's record label, OVO, or October's Very Own, Sound, and has been there since 2013 after being discovered by Drake earlier that year, going on to release his self-titled debut mixtape on July 1st, featuring classics like TBH, What's Good/Curious, and of course, the classic hit Break from Toronto, sampling Miguel's Girl with a Tattoo interlude. He has been the most successful signee to OVO, being the only person to break free of the well-known OVO curse. That curse is when you sign to OVO and you either A, end up falling into obscurity because Drake does not promote you at all and only wanted you for a hit song, or B, you're stuck in the supposed OVO sweatshop writing and producing for Drake just to still somehow end up in obscurity. Party has been responsible for some of the biggest R&B hits of the 2010s. With his own successful projects and his legendary singles and features like Come and See Me, Recognize, and Loyal with Drake, and even featuring on classics like Ghost Town with He Who Shall Not Be Named, with him also helping write for Drake, and even two of Rihanna's biggest hits, Wild Thoughts with DJ Khaled and Bryson Tiller, and Work with Drake. That song even started off as just initially a Drake and P&D collab. The two have made a lot of bangers together over the years, and this collaboration just seemed like the most obvious decision in history, but it would take a while to get there. Then, in the midst of the fallout after that, on August 2nd, 2024, Drake would be a surprise guest that night during Party's Toronto show during his North American tour supporting P4, or PARTYNEXTDOOR 4, his most recent album. That particular album with the cover that I cannot show you on YouTube. That nigga, freaky as hell. Oh my god. I mean, it is what it is. I get it, that's his music, that's what he's kind of known for, but goddamn. Instead, I'll be just using this as a placeholder. I need to stop publicizing that image exists. Drake didn't perform any rap hits that night, deciding to keep it slow. And towards the end of his performance, he announced that a collab album between the two was in the works.
Oh, alright, and before I go, should I tell him or no? For sure. Okay. On behalf of me and Party, we've been working on something for y'all, so when it gets a little chilly, PARTYNEXTDOOR and Drake album will be right there for you. We love y'all. Right there for you. Thank you. Have a good night.
We wouldn't get much word on it for a while. Now on Drake's side, just a couple days later on the 6th, Drake would drop 100 gigs for your head top, or simply just 100 gigs, promoting it on his newly established spam account, Plot Twist. He would link you to a website that had a 100 gigabyte archive of never before seen footage from tours, studio sessions, and just general behind the scenes clips. I tried to give everyone their fair shake on this channel, and I will give Drake credit. The 100 gigs drop was actually pretty cool. Seeing old videos from because again, this stuff dates back to even Take Care, So Far Gone, way back before. Seeing stuff from that era that we've never seen before is quite interesting. And seeing his insight into making some of his more recent songs has also been quite interesting to look at. One of my favorite clips that I saw was Drake doing what would become the chorus for the guy who shops at Aldi's track Yikes, and seeing its original version was kind of cool. Seeing it how it just came, how he was just freestyling in the booth and how it just came, really cool to see.
Hey, hey, goodbye. People had a problem looking in my eyes. They look away. Safe to say, shit could get menacing, frightening. Find help sometime. Yep, man.
That drop also came alongside a 3-song EP with never before heard tracks that released the same day, and then re-released on the 30th because one of the songs had sample clearance issues. And then a day after the re-release, getting the track No Face. That initially featured Playboi Carti, but his contribution, which was him just saying No Face 4 more times towards the end of Drake's chorus, was omitted from the release version. Drake would silently tease some of these songs from this album in the 100 Gigs drop and on Plot Twist, but wouldn't drop any more original music for the rest of the year. Party would tease the project a bit more in an interview, saying that the 15 songs that they were working on for the album were some of his favorite works. The project was initially slated for a winter 2024 release, but that got pushed back, most likely because 2 of the biggest rap albums of 2024 released within a month's time, with, Tyler the Creator's Chromacopia, and of course, and with Drake starting his legal battle with UMG and Spotify around that time as well. Then in November, Drake would be a guest on XQC's stream, where he would reveal that the project was 75% done. And then a month later, would stream with Aiden Ross, saying that this upcoming project was one of the projects he's been the most proud of. And then finally, in February, Party and Drake would tease the album's title, Some Sexy Songs for You, along with some snippets, set for a Valentine's Day release. And this is what we got. Once more, I have to say, this isn't the normal kind of album review I do here. I'm going off of very basic notes, so forgive me if this feels a little less formulated. But the album starts off with CN Tower, a decent album opener with Drake and Party discussing the mixed signals they're getting from their girls. And the song's title is, of course, in reference to the CN Tower in Toronto, Canada, the same tower that Drake was seen sitting atop of for the Views cover. I like the lollipop sample, by the way. It added a nice ambiance. I don't know, it was cool. Track 2 would be Mothballs, and after an unnecessary beat switch, Drake talks about how his dating life has changed as he's gained fame. And Party's chorus takes shots at Michigan, just the entire state of Michigan. No, the bar is saying that she tastes like water, but it's like it's so unintentionally funny. It clearly wasn't meant to be like a dig at the state of Michigan, but it's like it's just fun. It's kind of funny. Track 3 would be Something About You. And the title kind of makes the subject matter quite self-explanatory. Where on this track, Party also reaffirms the album's title, which potentially might have been where they got the inspiration to name it from. Following Something About You would be track 4, Crying in Chanel, a Drake solo track, one of the many on a collab album, remember that, I'm going to complain about that later. On Crying in Chanel, Drake wants to spoil the girl and is confused how she reacts to said spoiling. Track number 5 is Spider-Man Superman, and this kind of sucks. For this one, Drake and Party, mainly Drake, are done saving girls. This track could be like a pseudo-sequel or response to The Real Her from Take Care, a track where Drake talks about how he's falling in love with a stripper and wants to save her, kind of. With this song even sampling The Real Her, it is not deserving of that sample, truly. It feels so much like Drake is trying to remind his listeners, like, hey, remember when I made one of the best and important rap albums of all time? Remember that? And you hear the music I make nowadays? How time flies, doesn't it? Following Spider-Man Superman is track 6 and the only PND solo track, Deeper. On this song, Party is reflecting on a relationship with a girl that's making him think deeper, and also talking about how he's going deeper into it's a PARTYNEXTDOOR song. I don't need to spell it out for you. It's a pretty decent one though. I don't mention this as an insult. It feels kind of like this is like a P4 throwaway because it does give the same kind of sound. Following track 6 is Small Town Fame, another Drake solo track. and we're about to get a lot of those, which the subject matter I didn't really note because from my memory the song is just like him flexing really, but like why did he mention Charlie XCX and Tate McRae? Such a weird shout out to put in the middle of your song. I don't know. Then following Small Town fame is kind of an interlude, Pimmy's Dilemma by Pimmy. Pimmy is an up-and-coming indie artist, and she sounds really good. The song subject matter is basically her just being like, hey, I don't trust your homeboys because I know you're doing stupid shit with them. And it's funny for, like, a Drake of all people to put this on his album because it's like, you know damn well he'd be doing this shit to women repeatedly. Then following that track is Brian Steele, another Drake solo track. An oddly placed one-verser where Drake says that the is so good he almost wants to stay inside, but wants to go out with the boys instead. This man is not beating the bi allegations ever. Look, I've mentioned this before. I had a For All the Dogs review scripted, but I decided to scrap it because I was working on No One Wants to Fall to Heaven. And Drake, I can't tell if Drake is playing into the memes on his sexuality or if he's genuinely trying to hint at something. Because what are these statements? Like, again, on the topic of, like, Party Next Door and Drake collabs, Members Only, probably one of my favorite songs from For All the Dogs. Feel like I'm bi because you're one of the guys, girl. What would possess one to say that? Why? You should never, like, assume things about somebody. You shouldn't force labels on people. But what I will say is this. If the coochie is good enough that you should be staying inside, but you still feel a stronger urge to be out with your boys, maybe there are questions to be asked. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying. The song's title is the name of rapper Young Thug's lawyer, Brian Steele, who was able to miraculously get Thug off of his RICO charges earlier last year. Thug is relevant in this song as well because Drake throws in a line about how he can't just move past all of his beefs. Because, as a quick reminder, Drake wasn't just beefing with Kendrick. He mentioned himself, he kind of was just going after every nigga that did not like him. This was in reference to a tweet that Thug put out, tagging Metro, Future, and Drizzy, telling them that they need to patch things up. But Drake obviously does not seem too keen on that yet. And ignoring the fact that this song very clearly diverts from the album's main theme, it's kind of mid. And this kind of thing continues with the next song, Give Me a Hug, another Drake solo track, where also he's just not beating the weird nigga allegations either. Give me a hug? It's literally Where's My Hug At? That's a different wording for Where's My Hug At. Come on, man. This song is kind of like a second version of No Face, where Drake is reflecting on the fallout of the beef once again, essentially telling us that he couldn't care less about it. Are you sure about that? And it's just saying that he is going to stay down with the fans and homies that had his back during the battle. And the song is okay, but I liked No Face better. Then following that, finally, is one of our last Drake solo tracks, Raining in Houston. On this song, Drake is just constantly fighting with a girl. And this is probably Drake's best solo track on the project, next to track 14, which we'll get to in a second. As a Drake... Oh my god, sorry. Sorry. I got sick this week, so my throat is like not doing the greatest. Like, I was gonna record it yesterday, but I wanted to wait for my voice to somewhat come back, and I mean it's better, but still clearly, struggling a little bit. I also can't open my water bottle. Who needs water? Water's free.
Get your money, man. Life goes
I'm
on.
hopeful. Yes, I am hopeful for today.
As a Drake fan, seeing Houston in the title of a song, it's immediately gonna make me be like, ooh, because I've mentioned this before, but like Houston era Drake, the time where he was like started living there, it's commonly cited as like his best era. We got a lot of his best songs from that time. And even he loves the city so much that like he now has dual citizenship and is now a legal resident of Houston, Texas. Following Raining in Houston is Lasers, probably my favorite song from the project. Both Party and Drake's girls have tattoos of their ex-partners' names, And it's making them both feel some type of way because obviously they love them, and seeing a constant reminder of their ex, you know, it would hurt. Now, again, the song is great. I really do like it. I just think it's a little crazy for in this like slow, sensual jam that Drake's verse is talking about how like his girl's tattoo of his ex. Her ex was apparently an abuse victim. And he's just singing about that so nonchalantly, like that isn't really bad. Do you imagine this? Imagine a nigga serenading you being like, I'm sorry your ex put you in a hospital. That shit is crazy. And it's also a bit more crazy knowing that like, you're homeboys with Chris Brown, Drake. But hey, like I said, still probably my favorite song on the project. It's pretty good. But following the best song on the project is, of course, the worst song on the project with Meet Your Padre. Look, if you've seen this, you've seen the memes at this point. You're aware it's bad. I don't need to tell you it's bad.
I want to meet your madre, pay my respects to your padre, mi amor.
Drake has this issue with making Hispanic songs, and I don't know why. Like, it's not like he's made bad ones before. Like, again, this is from the For All the Dogs review I scripted. I remember talking about, like, Gently from For All the Dogs. It's so fucking ass because, like, he's putting on this fake ass accent for no reason. He sounds goofy. I live like sopranos, italianos, maestro puedo ir al baño, por favor. Like, oh my god. He's made good Spanish music in the past. Like, the biggest example of a song also with Bad Bunny is Mia. That song is good because Drake isn't trying to force an accent. He's just singing. Like, just do that. Stop doing whatever this is. I feel bad for Chino Pacas because his name is going to be forever attached to I Want to Meet Your Madre. Then following Meet Your Padre is the album's most popular song and the final Drake solo track. Thank you, Nokia. In this song, it's kind of just a club banger. It's fun. It's really just fun. But look, I know that when the chorus came on, I'm sure that when Academics was reacting to the album, he was restraining himself so hard not to respond to the chorus. You call it a Drake. You call it a Drake. Yeah, I was gonna do a different kind of voice for Academics, but I'd like to keep monetization and some level of dignity. Drake and the guy who does the production and the background vocals on the song, producer LxgendaryWill, I don't know why, they both sound so and like it's great. Look, for those of you who aren't initiated to the lingo, I'm gonna just say it's not a bad thing. It's truly not a bad thing. I do like that. It's great. It's actually really fun. Following Nokia is Die Trying. Finally, we're back to Drake and P&D together, featuring Yebba. This song having the instrumental of an indie pop hit, Drake and Party wonder if it is worth fighting for a failing relationship. The song isn't like that bad or anything, but it feels so out of place on what is meant to be like a primarily R&B album. Like, this feels like a, not significantly, but a worse version of Let's Call It Off from So Far Gone. And I like that song, and they even have similar subject matter. Then following track 15, we get track 16, Somebody Loves Me, which for my notes for subject matter, all I wrote was new girl good, old girl was a meanie weenie, and that the song is just alright. And yeah, it was indeed just alright. And continuing our streak of alrightness, we get Celibacy, with Drake wanting to break a girl's streak of celibacy and asking her quite directly. Smooth. Drake takes up the majority of that song, only leaving P&D to get like a second part with a different instrumental as kind of the outro, and I like that section better. Then following that is one of my last favorite songs on the album, OMW, or On My Way. I just wrote this in my notes. Very obvious subject matter. Party and Drake are on their way to a girl's place because the coochie good, which is perfectly fine. And the song sounds great. And then we take a huge dive in quality with Glorious, with an uncredited appearance from Ice Spice. What? 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 I just don't know what to say. It's so weird. It's like towards the end of the song, it's like, all right, Drake, you're kind of cooking now. What's up? But for the majority, it's like, you're interpolating Ice Spice. If you're going to do that, just give her a verse. What are you doing? Why? Oh my God, what was he cooking? Following Glorious, we get our penultimate track, When He's Gone, where Drake and Party attempt to get a girl to move on after leaving her ex, so that they can finally be together. This song is pretty alright as well. But then we get to the album's final song, Greedy, where Drake and Party talk about how they are desperate for love, despite being emotionally unavailable. Yeah, story of Drake's life throughout all of his discography, and honestly is a decent outro once more, ending with a 2-minute instrumental section, which actually sounds pretty nice. With the tracks itself out of the way, the album somehow, after listening to all of this, remember when Kendrick said, "I like Drake with the melodies, I don't like Drake when he act tough." Starting to not be a fan of Drake with the melodies either. Again, I'm just going off notes, so let's just get into this. Drake needs to stop using beat switches so abundantly. It's getting annoying. It's becoming a gimmick at this point. There have been instances in songs recently where he's used beat switches and they have been good or they've been fun. Major Distribution is my favorite example because it's a fake out. It's it starts off with these, calm, nice little piano things and Drake is singing, and then it immediately goes into this menacing beat where Drake and 21 just go off on each other and go really well together. It's a good song. And then even Family Matters, a song that I can no longer take seriously thanks to the parody. Kendrick just opened his mouth and I'm about to put my dick in it. Even though he lost, and even though I feel like people aren't willing to give Drake credit because of how badly he lost and the things that he's doing right now, but Family Matters was still a pretty good. That was a pretty good diss track, and the beat switches there were good. Yeah, there were 3 of them, but the song was almost 8 minutes in length and was again, good. I had this same problem on Her Loss, and it seems like he's going to just keep doing this. And I mentioned this very sparingly earlier, but this album very much feels just For All the Dogs throwaways and P4 throwaways that they just cobbled together into something. And speaking of which, PARTYNEXTDOOR is not featured as much as I'd hoped. It's not super abnormal to have a collab album where each artist they'll have their own solo tracks on it, but Drake has how many? Drake has 6 solo tracks on this album, and Party has 1, leaving technically only 13 original collaborations between the 2 of them, as they're both tagged on Pimmy's Dilemma, but this song is primarily just Pimmy. This also houses the same problem I had with Her Loss, but it has worsened that this lacks true collaboration. Collab albums really shine when you make something that could only truly come of a proper collab between the 2 artists. The example I brought up last time was Kids See Ghosts. You really could not get an album like that if, Cudi just featured on an Aldi person song. Them working together to craft something so unique made that album so special. And that kind of thing is very much lost because Drake has clearly taken so much control of the album. He's the one doing the majority of the verses. His verses are the longer ones. He has the more solo tracks. He has taken over the album and is essentially just letting Party be on it. I understand this album is coming off of one of Drake's biggest career moments and upsets, and he has things to say, but I'll talk about this a bit later. Save that for later, man. Just give it a sec. What I feel like Drake is failing to realize here is that he lost. Even if he won't properly admit that verbally, he knows he lost. He lost very badly, and he clearly has stuff he wants to say. But to just shoot off bars at LeBron James and at whoever in your albums right now isn't the greatest choice. If he did better on this album and purely focused on making this slow R&B album with PARTYNEXTDOOR, maybe mention it once or twice, I'd have less complaints, because again, songs like Give Me a Hug and Brian Steele, they feel so much better reserved for Drake's own solo project when that comes, because that gives him time to shine and talk personally about what is going on, and not to hijack this opportunity for him and his collaborator. Party is a popular artist, don't get me wrong, but like to have a collaboration album with objectively the biggest rapper on the planet would do wonders. And this would truly be, if I was Party, this would be my moment. I would be producing the hell. I would be doing everything, making some of the best shit ever. And then just for Drake to be like, what if I give you 30% of the album and you can do what you want to with it? And I was just like, okay. I don't know. And then even that begs to the question, like, for an album with this title, it can't believe I'm saying this out loud. It kind of lacks sexiness. That sounds weird. I know. Let me explain myself. With an album title, Sexy Songs for You, there's not a problem with there being rap songs on like an R&B album. That's something that's never happened. It's not like that's never happened before. But again, with Drake hijacking the album often to talk about the events of last year and just to do just general Drake things, the album's whole theme of it being like a slow R&B collab album is lost. Yeah, there are definitely songs that are going into the sex playlist, but like, you know, I'm not gonna link with like some, you know, with some fine Latina and I'm like, hey baby, let me play Meet Your Padre. She's going to think I'm committing a hate crime and I'm getting kicked out of her bed. This feels like a slightly better version of Scorpion, and that is not saying much. This album, it's such a disappointment. It really is such a disappointment. I was initially going to give it a 5, but I gave it a bit of grace, and I'm settling for a 6, which is appropriate, I guess, because it's Drake. He's from the 6, but yeah, 6 out of 10. So sorry for the drastic change in quality and in microphone, and also I'm sorry I didn't look very pretty in this video. I know. I gotta shave and I gotta get a lineup. For the weekend video, I promise I will look a lot prettier than normal. But as recording this, I am in the middle of editing the video and looking through the footage. Oops, gotta put that up. God damn it. In the middle of editing the video, I realized that towards the end, I got a bit too rambly. Part of the reason why I like writing proper scripts. And I think a lot of what I said in the last 9 or so minutes of uncut stuff is basically just this. Drake needs to wait. So there is clearly so much he wants to say and so much he can say given what has happened to him over the year. But for him to hijack Party's album and use that as a platform to do so, not only like worsened the listening experience, but makes it just doesn't feel appropriate for an album like this. And feels like a disservice to Party. The two of them making a collab album, at least like, I don't want to do the whole like, you know, the old Drake, new Drake, whatever for the billionth time, but like imagine if you're reading this, It's Too Late era Drake making a collab album with PARTYNEXTDOOR. Holy shit, that would be a fucking classic. But this is modern Drake coming off of the worst episode of his career, taking over the album of Party. And I'm sure he's aware that like it's kind of a scummy thing, you know? Like again, Party is, even though he's still popular, he is a much smaller artist than him and is signed to his label. So even if Party is like, I'd like more creative control, I don't know what their dynamic is, this might sound very parasocial, Party might not be so willing to just go up to his boss and demand more time in the album. But that's all to say that like what I said at the end of the GNX video still stands. For Drake, this is not meant to be his response, but not only did he somewhat turn it into part of his response, and said response is kind of weak, but I will say that again, he needs to lock in. Truly, I think one of my favorite like modern Drake albums is probably Her Loss, because he was just rapping. He was just rapping really well throughout it, even in the singing portions. I think that was a genuine, solid project within this modern era. If he makes a project that is like a mix of Her Loss and like the few best parts of Some Sexy Songs for You, I genuinely feel like he could have a comeback album that is worth the listen and will inspire confidence in him again. And he just might be able to bounce back from this. The other thing though, which isn't related to music at all, the only other way he can also bounce back from this is to drop the lawsuit and apologize for ever doing that dumbass shit in the first place. I know he won't, but again, you know, I didn't talk about this much in the GNX video, but him pursuing this lawsuit, I understand, yes, from a legal perspective and all of these things, yes, Drake has been called in what is one of the biggest songs of 2024. And in fact, said song was performed at the Super Bowl where he was smiled directly at. I understand that, yes, defamation is a very easy thing to claim in this thing, but also you are a rapper in a rap battle who you also have spread alleged misinformation about Kendrick beating on his wife. Sorry, beating on his partner. They're not married. That's why I made the clarification. Again, if Kendrick was a bitch, he could do the exact same thing, you know? But then again, this is my biggest issue with, like, again, I'm making this whole section to avoid repeating myself, and I'm starting to repeat myself. But, like, that's part of the issue with modern Drake music. Is that, like, it's clear that, like, any kind of artistic integrity is very much lost as he's just trying to chase after trends and adapt to what's popping, and it's almost embarrassing at times. And I feel bad making this video because I feel 90% of this is me complaining about Drake when this PARTYNEXTDOOR was there as well, and I really like him. But yeah, I think that's going to properly wrap it up for this video. Again, I know this isn't the normal kind of thing that I post, but I appreciate you guys sticking by and watching this towards the end. Once more, I just want to thank the channel support recently. Like, again, my goal this year is to hit 10K, and I'm very much on my way, and I really do appreciate that. Again, I suck at doing spontaneous outros. I can't find much else to say outside of thank you. My last video did pretty decent. I wish that the topic wasn't the one I had to talk about, but I appreciate the support nonetheless. And I even saw that, like, people actually did go back and rewatch the FML video, or maybe it just came into people's, like, recommended because of the things that were happening. And just as the smallest of side tangents, I'm so glad that I don't feel like an insane person, because people are finally seeing everything I said in that video. And I don't just look like the rambling old man in the town square high off fentanyl. But yeah, thank you guys again so much for everything. Stay tuned. That weekend video, still working on it. I've been re-listening to a lot of this stuff. It's been very fun. And yeah, catch you in the next one. Boom, baby.